All right, let's jump right in. We're going to be talking about a really profound concept today called Bodhicitta. You might have heard it called the enlightened mind. And we're going to unpack it using some fantastic material from the Australian Buddha's Light Association, which, honestly, uses 3 powerful and kind of surprising metaphors to explain the whole thing.
So yeah, a diamond, a cesspool, and a precious vessel. It sounds like a pretty random collection of things, doesn't it? But trust me, stick with this because by the end you're going to see how these 3 seemingly unrelated things can completely unlock a new way of seeing our own potential.
So first things first, right? What is bodhicitta? I mean, the common translation is the enlightened mind, but we got to be careful here. It's so much more than just, a warm, fuzzy feeling. Think of it as this incredible fusion of 2 powerhouse qualities. On one hand, you've got boundless compassion for absolutely everyone. And on the other, you have this deep, profound wisdom that actually makes that compassion work. It's where the heart and the mind come together as one.
Okay, so our first metaphor is the diamond. Now, like a diamond, bodhicitta is incredibly precious, it's strong, it's brilliant. But it doesn't just pop out of thin air. It has to be mined from somewhere very specific. So, what's the source?
And the source material breaks this down beautifully. The mine for this diamond mine has 2 main ingredients. First up is great compassion. This is your engine, right? That deep, unshakable drive to help all living beings. But motivation by itself isn't quite enough. You also need the second part, all-knowing wisdom. This is the skill. This is what lets you see reality for what it is, so your help is actually effective, not just well-intentioned. You really can't have one without the other.
Now let's move on to our second metaphor. And, well, this one is a bit of a challenge. It's the cesspool, and what it represents is the world of suffering, all the difficulty and pain we see. How we choose to look at this cesspool reveals a major fork in the road.
And this is where things get really interesting, because you see these 2 totally different ways of looking at it. So you have viewpoint A. The cesspool is real. Suffering is this solid, unbearable trap. And if that's your reality, what's the goal? Well, it's pretty simple. Get yourself out of there and fast. This is the kind of thinking you see in what's called the small vehicle path. But then, you have viewpoint B. Here, the cesspool is seen as illusory, more like a dream. It's impermanent. And once you see it that way, everything changes. The goal completely flips. It's not about escaping anymore. No, the goal is to stay and help everyone else who still thinks the dream is real.
This quote really gets to the core of it. I mean, how could anyone possibly choose to stay in a cesspool? It's because they understand its nature isn't solid or permanent. They're not getting bogged down by the temporary mess. Instead, they're focused on the potential, on that diamond-like nature inside every single person who's stuck there. It's this massive shift in perception that allows real compassion to operate, even when things are at their worst. And that brings us to our third and final metaphor, the vessel. So, after we've understood the diamond's source and the right way to look at the cesspool of suffering, we now have to turn inward. This last piece of the puzzle is all about who we fundamentally think we are.
Let's be honest with ourselves. Most of the time, we tend to identify with our flaws, don't we? We see ourselves as these broken pots, just defined by all our cracks and our imperfections and all the baggage we carry. We feel like we're fundamentally flawed. But here's where the source material makes its most radical claim. That's just a case of mistaken identity. We are not the broken pot. We are, and we have always been, the precious vessel. We are inherently perfect and whole. Let that sink in for a second.
And what are these broken pot characteristics? Oh, they're super familiar, right? Greed, jealousy, arrogance, laziness, that mind that just won't stop scattering everywhere, that feeling of ignorance, of not being able to see things clearly. We feel these things so often that we just start to believe, yep, that's me.
So here's the absolute key point. This precious vessel isn't something you have to go out and painstakingly build from nothing. It's our inherent nature. You could call it self-nature or Buddha nature. The teaching here is that it's already pure, it's already complete, so the whole spiritual path suddenly isn't about construction, it's about discovery.
Okay, let's put all 3 of these metaphors together. We've got the diamond source, we have the cesspool perspective, and we have the true identity of the vessel. So what does all of this mean for taking that very first step on the path, for what's called generating the mind?
The real meaning of generating the mind, or fashin as they say, isn't just about forcing yourself to have a noble wish. It's a fundamental shift in identification. It's the conscious act of finding, acknowledging, and then choosing to live from the identity of that precious vessel instead of the fleeting identity of the broken pot with all its drama.
And this quote just ties it all together perfectly.
The real transformation doesn't come from trying to patch up all the cracks. It comes from realizing you are not the cracks. You're the vessel that holds them. The second we stop identifying with those temporary states of greed or anger or jealousy, that's the moment real change actually begins.
So I'll just leave you with the same powerful question that the source material leaves us with. If we actually started to practice this, to identify not with our fleeting thoughts and messy emotions, but with that inherent, pure, and complete precious vessel that's already inside us, what would actually change in our day-to-day lives? What new possibilities would open up for us? Something to think about.